Welcome to the Backyard Professor Responds videos. World famous UFO watcher Richard Dolan and YouTube and book author has given an interview on the theory of everything a few months back, where he shared some interesting information on the absolute exponential rapidity of UFOs beginning to show up in the modern world. It's not like it was anciently. Something is going on. They're agitating. How can we be sure that this is an actual trend? And I will share some ideas on the Hopi prophecy from their prophecy stone with us. That is extremely interesting and could have a tie-in with UAPs. Let's take a listen to Richard Dolan.
I don't know of a single archaic ancient sighting that clearly and unequivocally describes a metallic mechanical craft that I would say confidently is technological. It's possible, but you don't really get those descriptions. There's a few that could potentially go that way, so I don't rule it out. But in terms of quantity, you start getting a lot of them starting in the 19th century, and then, of course, really picking up in the 20th century, and especially with the Second World War. It just goes through the roof with the Second World War. And that makes perfect sense logically. You put yourself in the position of these other beings. They're watching us. It's only a matter of a few generations where we were, for thousands of years, we'd been a society of horses pulling wooden carts. And then suddenly we get electricity, we get airplanes, we get radios, we get televisions, we get guided missiles. We then develop computers. We're now splitting the atom by the 1940s. Like, that's fast. That's super fast. Because the people who were involved in splitting the atom in the 1940s, their grandparents were living in covered wagons. Okay, so it's really fast.
So it's it's the development of nuclear bombs?
Well,
Or
part
what
of
is it specifically?
Part of it. It's also the development of radar. It's the development of computing technology. Alan Turing's just as much a part of this as Robert Oppenheimer. It's computers. I think people in the 50s were too overwhelmed with the nuclear reality to realize there's other technological reasons also that these ETs would be watching us, not just.
What specifically about these technologies is it? So in the nuclear case, it could be said that it would destroy the world. So is it always about self-destruction?
No. Yes and no. The nuclear part of it is important because we do have the ability to destroy every single bit of life on this planet with a nuclear holocaust. That's a terrifying reality, and that has to be of interest.
And it is. And of course, we've all heard this before. This isn't new news, but I enjoyed how he rapidly went through the incredibly speedy development that we have had in just the last 100 years compared to the last 5,000. They've been here for probably that long, if not longer, and they've just been kind of keeping their eye on us, is the hypothesis. And they appeared anciently. We might have some ancient records in the biblical records and in India, etc. But they're not very often, and they're not very numerous either. Jacques Vallée has documented some in his book, The Dimensions, and Diane Pasulka talks about it a bit in her American Cosmic. But now, in another broadcast, he says there is as many as 50,000 UFO sightings a year around the world. And why? Nuclear is part of it, but this is interesting how Richard develops this. Let's take a listen.
But no, just more generally, the technological transformation that we have gone through during the 20th century, and that continues, all was totally predictable, in my opinion. They knew this. They knew this long before we knew this, that this was going to happen, that we were going to transform into a highly technological society once we discovered a few principles. And that's what happened in the 20th century. Now, we may have gotten a boost. Maybe, as some have argued, the transistor, which was patented in 1947, came as a result of prior acquired tech. Is it possible? I don't rule it out. I'm not talking about Roswell, but maybe Cape Girardeau from 1941. Maybe, but be that as it may, our trajectory was totally predictable. And so what that means is that they knew we were about to jump into their world anytime. Once we developed a certain, because this is not a normal incremental progression. This is a leap. This is a new paradigm. We're not just incrementally progressing here. Take a few steps back and compare our world to that of, the Wild West of the 1880s. It's not even remotely similar. It's only a few generations. So we're in a fundamentally different reality in which we're now looking at transhumanism, genetic manipulation, CRISPR tech, nanotech, strong AI, quantum computing. I mean, the sophistication of our data management, digital data management is, we take this for granted, but it's off the charts. So all of that has made qualitative changes in human society that I believe were totally predictable by an intelligent extraterrestrial civilization that's gone through the process. So what I'm saying is we are under intense observation right now for this reason. And now let's get into what else is going on.
So this is interesting because our technological development has mushroomed and jumped perhaps faster than they were expecting it to. And if we, like Gary Nolan has said, we're the new kid on the space block, so to speak. So here we are developing rocketry and we're trying to get off into space. And yet we're so warlike, we're so vicious, we kill rather than get along. Do they want to allow us to join their space neighborhood and trash every planet we land on like we're trashing ours and kill anybody who disagrees with us? That's a deep, profound thought that we need to be cognizant of and perhaps try to change our attitudes, change our spirit a little bit, so that perhaps we can be welcomed instead of prevented from getting into space too far. So this is quite an interesting philosophy that Dolan is presenting. Let's keep listening for a moment.
Would any visiting intelligence, and I believe that there are probably multiple ones, by the way, as part of what I believe, would they be interested in monitoring or guiding, as they might look at it, or we might look at it, managing or controlling our transition process? Because this is what it is. It's a transition. We're basically going from natural human to artificial human. And that, by the way, terrifies me personally. But who cares what I think? Doesn't matter what I think. It's happening. We've already been creating an artificial environment for many, many, many generations. We live in artificial homes and houses. We don't live under the skies. We live we like to control our environment. So we've had some practice at this, but we're now going to a point where we're going into virtual reality, augmented reality. Like, what is even going to be real? A society of total digital surveillance and monitoring and control, essentially a totalitarian system in which there's not going to be any privacy forever. How is that going to change human psychology? Probably quite dramatically. We're going through just a fundamental transformation that, again, I would also say was probably predictable. Probably. I hate to say that because it makes it sound inevitable, but that's what I think. So they know this. And do they have an interest in managing that process? I'm sure some of them would.
So, and the reason I'm bringing all this up tonight, and I agree, we're speculating here, we're exploring, I should say, is because the Hopi prophecies from the Native American Hopi tribes, the sacred tribes, said there are 9 signs in their prophecies that are going to happen before the blue Kachina comes back. And we don't know what that is. But when the blue Kachina comes back, get ready for the end, because the red Kachina shortly follows, and that is a transformation of society. But the 9 interpretations of the signs have already been fulfilled in our day. And I don't have time tonight to share those Hopi prophecies with you, but I will in another video. They are remarkably fascinating. The blue Kachina, the Kachina dolls, are the star people, according to Frank Waters' analysis of the Hopi sacred rituals. These star people are coming back, they were prophesied. And when they come back, there is going to be a purification, what they call a purification. Now, we can call this a transformation of our society if you want, but the Hopis call it a purification. The reason why, according to some responses of people who have been experiencers, is the UFOs have told them, take care of the earth. If you don't, you won't like the results. Now, Chris Bledsoe says the lady UFO that visited him said when the star Regulus in the constellation Leo is lined up with the gaze of the Sphinx, there will be a new knowledge that comes upon mankind in 2026. Barring any unforeseen circumstances, the vast majority of us are going to be here for that. Oh, we have no idea what it is. Bledsoe has hinted it might be around Easter. I've seen calculations where that alignment with Regulus and the Sphinx gaze doesn't occur until October, but it is in 2026. So Dolan saying that this vast, rapid increase in not only our development, but in all of a sudden worldwide activity with the UAP visiting people and being seen more and more and more by navies and Air Force and captured on cameras and radar and visiting people just like they do with Chris Bledsoe in various different types and shapes. Is this a preparation for the transformation of humanity into our next big leap into growth intellectually, psychologically, spiritually? And are we ready? We need to be ready, or I suspect the shock is going to be nasty. How do we get ready? Well, you begin first by becoming familiar with what's happened to people before us. You get familiar with the UFO literatures. You become understanding of their point of view based on what we get from experiencers and what we are doing that is bad for society and for the earth and what is good for society and for the earth. So a change is coming, and we're getting hints. We do know without question that some people identify the UAPs as demons. I get that. There are other people who identify them with angels. The point is they are heavenly beings, which is basically what many of the ancient literatures discussed as well. So we might be living in an upcoming age of miracles from our point of view worldwide after 2026. And again, that's my speculation. I don't know. I haven't been told. Nobody really knows. Something has changed. They are now buzzing our skies and our oceans. And they claim, the government claims, Danny Sheehan has come out and said that there are bases off of Guadalupe Island in the Baja Peninsula in the Pacific. There is a UFO base in Sedona, Arizona. There are UFO bases out in the Atlantic, etc. And their activity has greatly increased since World War II, as Dolan said, perhaps because of the nuclear issue. And we know they have let us know that they can turn off and turn on our nuclear power at will. In other words, if we stupidly try to do a nuclear war, Biden gave Ukraine permission to shoot U.S. missiles deep into Russia just this last week, and they've been doing so. And now Putin is coming back and threatening to use nuclear weapons. We have to speak out against that. That is uncategorically a disaster for all of us. It is a no-win situation. If the UAPs are against the nuclear weapons, I really do hope they're buzzing around right now, really hard, fast, and furious, and that they will prevent us from being so stupid. That would prove they're not demons at all. That would prove they're our friends, and we desperately need friends, because we as a humanity appear to me to be too short-sighted for our own good. We have lost the spirit of love and brotherhood and freedom for all, and we've gotten to the point to where hate and war is taking over, and the complete disregard for our neighbor, for our land, for our laws, and for our leaders. We're in a mess, and it doesn't look like it's getting any better. So I'm just saying, as a potential, we need to gear up with our own personal psychology, with our own personal spirituality, with our own personal intellectuality. And we need to recognize that we ought to prepare. Chris Bledsoe has come out in a new video where he has indicated, he suggests that it might be wise to get an extra 3 to 4 months worth of extra food, have a little bit of extra water on hand, make sure you have first aid kits, make sure you have enough ammunition for your weapons, etc. Perhaps acquire a generator, etc. Water purifier. None of that would cost a whole lot of money, and it really could alleviate a whole lot of suffering for months and months and months. If we can just do something that simple and get our psychology prepared. I'm not screaming disaster, end of the world, Jesus is a coming. I'm not doing the fundamentalist Christian thing here or the fundamentalist Mormon thing here. I'm just saying clues are now coming out. I've seen Jewish websites talking about the end of the world. I have seen Christian websites, YouTube channels talking about the end of the world. I have seen the Mormons begin saying that their own prophet, Russell M. Nelson, is beginning to make more and more and more hints that the end of the world is coming upon us rapidly. And I have seen dates anywhere from 2026 to 2038. Well, that's even within my lifetime, and I suspect for half my audience, if not more, we might be alive through this era, and we understand the Christian prophecies and the Mormon prophecies and the Jewish prophecies that there's going to be tribulation first. And now I can add the Hopi prophecies. They likewise add that. So just keep our eyes open, our ears to the ground, and get ready for a change in our society. I do believe it's on the way. So that's my backyard professor response to the ever wonderful to listen to Richard Dolan, who is wise beyond his years. I really enjoy his commentaries and his insights and his ideas. I'll catch up to you later, just as soon as I find more information to share. Thanks for all your support. Hit the like and subscribe. Share the channel. Yeah, please, this one, share the channel with everybody you know, because this is information that perhaps a lot of people do need to hear again and again and again to get ready. Because my fear is when it hits, it's going to be very, very rapid. And if you wait too long, you might be too late. And I'm not trying to do a fear-mongering video here at all. I'm just saying, while we can, let's be the squirrel gathering the extra nuts and goodies and sticking it in our nest for winter. We might be very glad we did. Catch up to you soon.